What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by the Real Estate Cheat Code. I have Anthony Pope with us today, and he's with the Anthony Pope Real Estate Group at Key Realty. Anthony, thanks so much for taking time out of your day today and your schedule. I know as real estate agents, we're always busy, especially this time of year. We're trying to get things wrapped up, right? Whether that's prospecting or closing out the year or thinking about going into 2024. So thanks so much for jumping on with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Anthony, we were talking a little bit beforehand, and, maybe for those listeners that are new to this, my whole goal and my whole passion and my mission is to help new agents find success in this business. And, just letting people know that there's so many different paths to getting into real estate. There's so many different journeys to success. And, every week we bring successful people on in the marketplace that are out there doing it. And it's just great to share that journey. So, Anthony, on this podcast, on this show, we always start from the very beginning. And, what I found over the years of me doing this now is typically there's a lot of things that happen either earlier in our life and or earlier in another career that have a great impact on our business and how we got to this point. So for you, Anthony, what was life like growing up for you? What was it like as a kid?
Well, life was great. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, so I'm a native. And when I was really young, I lived in Sunbury.
Okay.
And we had we didn't have a ton of land, but we definitely had a couple acres. I was involved with 4-H. Raised chickens. We had pet chickens. We had showing chickens. Looking back, it's a little crazy to me that was my experience for the first 6, 7, 8 years of my life. Picking blackberries in the backyard and just not a care in the world. And so, but after that, my parents separated before I was born. So I come from technically a broken home, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love both of my parents. And really, if I'm going to be honest, it gave me, because my dad at the time was living in Hilliard and then I was living in Sunbury with my mother. So I was going back and forth, commuting from one side of the city to another. And I feel as though it gave me a nice head start at getting familiar with the lay of the land. So, and of course, both my parents are great. Growing up too, my mother owned a cleaning company. She went to law school, but had 3 kids. And she realized that she probably wasn't going to be, a successful lawyer to have the same amount of time and attention to give us as kids. Sure. So she chose us over that career. But then she realized she needed to do something to make the moolah. So she founded her own cleaning company and connected with some pretty heavy hitting like corporate executives, business owners, and so forth. And at that point, we had moved from Sunbury to New Albany, which is where I grew up primarily in my childhood. So, sorry, that was a little long-winded.
No. Well, first of all, I have to go back to the whole 4-H and the chickens thing because in my family, we have a story. There was a flea market that we would always go to when I was growing up, and one time my brother had the great idea of convincing my parents to buy chickens from the flea market. And I think it was like a dozen of chickens, right? I think 11 of them turned out to be like roosters or something like that. It was like, those
suckers are mean sometimes.
Yeah. I grew up with chickens off and on. And, what was it about chickens that drew you for the 4-H and showing chickens? Because normally I haven't really met many people in the 4-H that came up through 4-H, and that was the animal.
Well, the thing is, it was for the experience. I wasn't super steeped in it because we weren't like, we're not a family that comes from Delaware County or, a farm community where it's instilled in us necessarily. But I think really my mom actually was the one who wanted us to have that experience. So, and I'm so glad because having moved to New Albany a few years later, that was a much different experience in both positive and, I don't know, not negative ways, but just different ways. Sure. So I'm glad that I had that. I call them my my paradise years, because when you're that young and you have all of the land, it seems, in your perception, in your head, to just roam and do whatever and have not a care in the world, it's a great way to start, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful to my family for providing that experience for me
Did you
and
have
myself.
any Yeah, no, I mean, did you have any hobbies or interests growing up?
Yeah, when I was, I think I was 11. My family, especially my dad's side of the family, but my family in general is very musical, for generations. So my mom recognized that, and she basically told me and my siblings, "Okay, your family is way too musical not to be at least trying an instrument. So you have to pick an instrument." So I thought about it, and being the sassy little child that I was, if you can only imagine, I was like, "Fine, I'll play an instrument. I choose piano though, and it needs to be a baby grand piano." So, and that
We're
obviously
not
the
gonna we're
gumption,
not gonna
and
half-ass it here. We're gonna get the main one.
I mean, thank God I grew out of that attitude for the most part, because that's a little unfair, a little inconsiderate, considering. However, my parents found a baby grand mahogany 1920s piano for me, and so I just took to it. I took some lessons, but honestly, I never took to the reading of the music.
Yeah.
I kind of sat down and played by ear. And so now I write songs and lyrics
Oh,
and
wow.
sing and all of that. So it has definitely carried through to my adult experience.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let me ask you this, have you always been an entrepreneur? Even, like, growing up? I mean, because obviously, like, your mom has the background of creating her own business, right, and her own company.
Right.
Obviously, now as a real estate agent, you're kinda doing the same thing. Was that natural to you back then or no?
I had the example for sure, which I'm forever grateful, as we all should be whenever we're given an example, and especially early on in life, because it can really leave an impact. And I'm much different than I was when I was young.
Yeah.
Aside from the attitude, sometimes I was a lot more quiet. I kept to myself quite a bit, and so I guess that allowed me a lot of time to watch and listen. And I tell a lot of people when I discuss where I come from and everything, being um, from New Albany, and also in my high school years, I not only attended New Albany High School, but I also attended St. Charles Preparatory School in Bexley. So I had some experiences in my adolescent years that allowed me to really listen and watch.
Mm,
And I learned a lot about how to interact with people, how to listen, but also how to stand up for yourself and for myself. And so I feel really grateful in my life in general right now, but I definitely feel grateful that I had that exposure
yeah.
to those lessons. And I think those all make up an entrepreneur, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I was an entrepreneur from the start.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's not a good answer or what, but
No, I
definitely
love
grown into it.
yeah, no, honestly, I bring it up because, I want people to understand, especially in our business, that maybe they're thinking about getting in. Like, we're not out here like cutthroat, hardcore salespeople. I think some people have that natural ability, right? And that's just who they are, and they just happen to pick real estate as that vehicle, right? And then there's people, like myself, who I can't sell anything, right? Like, I'm more of like advisory, type. And the one thing that worked with me, and I think why real estate works for me, is because typically it takes time, right? It's not you're going to come to me today and you're buying tomorrow, and I better get you hook, line, and sinker on that one phone call, right? Like, I can build trust and show you and guide you, and I know it takes time for that relationship to happen, which is why real estate works for me. And I love asking that question because I want people to know that you don't have to be this. It's not this cutthroat, make now you can make $1,000 a day if you wanted to, but that's not necessarily always our environment in order for you to have success in the industry.
Not my speed. Not my speed. And,
Let me
you
ask you
know,
this, because I'm curious. Coming from a situation where you moved to a couple different locations, right? Your dad was on the other side of the city from where you're living. Do you think that has benefited you in your real estate career?
I do. I do. Like I said, I feel like I got, oh, like exposure to more of the city as a young person. And oftentimes, as young people, we are pretty much in our bubble of our suburb or our neighborhood. And so even just being like exposed visually to the rest of the city and getting the lay of the land, the commute time. I mean, I look back and it's so interesting too, because, and this is going to sound a little dramatic and a little hallmarky and a little silly, but I will say, I remember those commutes to and from, and I remember looking at all of the neighborhoods and the houses and being so enthralled by the idea of what that family in that house is like, and what it must be like to be in that home, just curiosity. And so it totally makes sense where I've ended up, at least thus far in life, professionally, but also personally.
Yeah.
And real estate is an interesting industry. It's a beautiful industry, and it can be cutthroat for sure, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
It can be cutthroat at the same time of you not being cutthroat. You
Right.
just have to figure out how to navigate it to make it work for you. And also how to realize you don't have to worry about anybody else other than yourself, number one, and then your clients. And that's where I am. I don't really care to worry about anybody else but my clients.
Yeah.
And a mentor of mine once told me, and it is true. So for those who are considering, bear this in mind. It can be a very lonely industry. It
Hmm.
can be, because at the end of the day, unless you're dealing with your clients, everybody else, with the exception of contractors and whatnot, everybody else is technically your competition.
Hmm.
Now, I choose, and I've been privileged, and we will probably get into this. I've been privileged to be surrounded by some pretty heavy hitting professionals in the industry early on in my career, and they taught me that it doesn't have to be the cutthroat approach. Um, but they also taught me that it can be cutthroat. So it's kind of a weird gray
Yeah.
area topic uh,
Yeah.
to approach, but I've enjoyed it very much, clearly. So
Well, it's one of those things, right? If the goal is to be the best of the best, right? And you want to be, that heavy hitter, right? There is a little bit of the competition side of it, right? Like you just have to have that. But what I found typically with those people are the willingness to share exactly what they did to get there, and then there's usually a line, right? It's like game time. Like if it's a listing appointment, we're in competition, right? If it's like asking a question and mentoring about X, Y, and Z, they're there to share, which is how it should be, in my opinion.
yeah,
And that's what I try to do as well, right? Like, I love to give away exactly what we did to build our team and how we built it. And you can ask me any question that you want. But if I know I'm going up against you on a listing appointment, I'm not just going to say, oh, yeah, go use Anthony instead of me, right? It's gonna be like, hey, Anthony's great. He's got his ways, right? I'm also great, and here's my ways. You decide which one you would like to use, right? And at that point, it is the competition. But
and I've
um,
definitely lost listings to other agents that I adore,
sure,
and that's fine. And I know that there are agents that who adore me. I would like to hope that have lost listings to me. So it
yeah,
is definitely, there's an underlying level of respect that's to be recognized for
yep,
each other. At the end of the day, though, I mean, listen, uh, don't cross me, you know,
We got bills to pay.
don't cross me. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't cost a dime to be nice.
Yeah,
And you don't have to implement not so nice approaches to be successful in real estate. Um, you have to be strategic, but
yeah,
I don't think that it requires you to be a sleazeball to make it in this industry at all.
sure.
And I
I
think for
agree.
the longest time, people believed that. So,
Yeah,
not the case. At least that's not the case that I'm experiencing. And I mean, let's face it, I'm nowhere near where I want to end up. And where do I want to end up? That's the sky's the limit,
right.
right? But where I am right now, the success that I have experienced by the grace of God, um, I'm very satisfied with. So,
Yeah. Lead me up to the point of you deciding that real estate is going to be your career choice. Did you have other careers before this, or did you just jump right into real estate?
I wouldn't say I had other careers before real estate. I definitely worked my you know what off. I mean, I was working 2, 3, sometimes 4 jobs at a time. Obviously, 3 out of those 4 were part-time, one of
Sure.
them being full-time, but I really just hit the streets and started working in customer service, specifically, in retail and hospitality. So, for instance, I worked front desk at the Renaissance Hotel downtown Columbus. I've worked in a number of shocking, spa and salons at the front desk. So, really customer interaction. And then I was a manager at a retail store in the Worthington Mall for a couple years. And all of those experiences, I did not realize at the time, but were training. It was basically like I was training for where I am now.
Yeah.
And I will say throughout my 20s, oh my God, I I do not want to go back. I do not want to go back. I know some people might have a different experience, and that's great. But my 20s, my God. So I'm now 31, so I'm just fresh into my 30s. But it's I was just working, and I kind of was blindly aiming at a career.
Hmm.
And I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going. I was working, 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 but okay, what am I working for? Where am I heading? I need a career. So um, then an opportunity fell in my lap when I think I was 20, 26 or 27. I had quit my job because I had gone to sound engineering school for 5 weeks. It's a 5 week program at a school called the Recording Workshop in Chillicothe. And because I am into music, I thought, oh,
Right.
that might be interesting to entertain. So I went. My older brother had gone because my older brother um, and I had written music together. He was more of a producer, so I thought, oh, I'll try that. And I did. I met some really great people, but it just didn't stick. So I got back and I didn't have a job. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to figure it out. Well, I ran into somebody that who I knew I had met before, and she presented an opportunity to get me connected with somebody in the industry of my interest. And so one thing led to another, and I ended up landing a job for as an assistant for a top producing agent in the Granville area. And so
Nice.
I worked for that top producer for about, I think, 2.5 years in the buyer's department, answering lead calls and following up with leads, and obviously corresponding with active clients who are either searching or in contract or getting ready to close. I also worked in the listing department, processing the files and creating the timelines for this agent to send to the lucky buyers or sellers. And also, I did a lot of marketing. So I created the ads for this particular agent who I still am close with and admire very much. And after that 2.5 years was up, I decided I needed to make a decision what I'm going to do, because with that particular agent and their approach to their business, they are the realtor and
Sure.
everybody else in the office is the assistant. And
Sure.
I was ready to be the realtor too. So I chose to take a different direction. Um, and I actually joined a top producing team in the New Albany area for a bit, working as a buyer's agent for a lead agent on that team. And I absorbed quite a bit of experience in my 7, 8 months that I was with them. And so these are the examples that I'm
Yeah.
referencing, I guess,
Yeah.
talking about them. I start out with somebody I would like to consider a legend, my idol in the
You can
industry, for
you
sure.
can you can shout them out if you
You
want.
can shout Patty Urbatus with
Yeah.
Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
Patty Urbatus, she taught me a lot about branding
Mm.
and about having a brand, and also the reality of the industry and life in general. So I'll
Let me
always be grateful to
Yeah, let
her.
me ask you about the branding question because, I think some agents struggle with that. What's something that you took away from Patty?
Not to give a rip about anybody else and what they think, and to really just be who you are.
Mm,
Just be who you are. Some people
yeah.
might not like it. Some people will love it. Some people will learn to love it. Some people will be inspired. And so like I dress the way that I want to dress. I speak the way that I want to speak. I advertise my marketing. I create my marketing. So I am the owner of my brand fully. And your brand isn't just your business. Your brand is who you are as a human being on this earth. We are all entrepreneurs, in my opinion, because we're all trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Some of us have, you know, better characteristics or traits, or, just have more of a knack at it than others. But we really are all a walking brand, especially in this day and age. So you have to really be fully who you are. And that it took me, I don't think fully exactly who I am, because I'm still growing,
Right.
and I don't know it all. Nobody knows it all.
Right.
But I can tell you, I am a lot more confident now than I ever was in my 20s, let alone in my teens, for God's sake, And gaining that confidence is what allowed me to really just be okay with what I like and who I am and how I approach my business and how I interact with people. So that I would say I learned that by example. Wasn't necessarily like, let's sit down and learn about this. It's
Yeah.
just I listened and watched. And so I feel really privileged and lucky that I was able to work with somebody like Patty Urbatus or with this team in New Albany, because regardless of differences or of taking a different direction, you can always learn from everybody. And I'm still learning that too, because sometimes I get stubborn. But you can always learn from everybody, and you should always appreciate, even if there is like I said, a difference in understanding, or if you really just don't like somebody that much, you should still give them the credence that they deserve if they've taught you something. And
Yeah.
so and that's, I guess, some advice I'll give to anybody looking to get into the industry. Make nice with as many people as you can, but again, don't lay down and take it either. So, and that's kind of what I've experienced is I have a number of really great colleagues, cooperating agents who I've worked with, who I've just built good relationships with, who I admire. Um, Other agents out of offices I've worked who I just really know I can lean on, even still in different brokerages. I can call them up with a specific question. Not that I wouldn't call my manager or my broker, but if this is, if they're not available, or if I need a quick answer, I can reach out to them and they will answer. And so you also need to learn to reciprocate that when you are at a point that you can provide inspiration or knowledge to somebody else who's looking for an answer.
Yeah. You know what I found out about that over the years is it allowed me to actually grow faster in my business is when I could teach other people what I was doing.
Well, that's what
Even if
you're doing right now.
I mean, even if it's the communication standpoint, right? Like just answering a question of a clause or whatever, right? Like that made me become more knowledgeable and actually know what I'm doing because I now have to then pass that message on to another agent who may not understand it yet.
Yep.
It just, I believe in three things when it comes to that. It's I believe everyone should have a coach, right? That can help them down that path. I believe everyone should need a peer or have a peer, someone that's on the same exact journey as you, right? Maybe it's years in the business, or maybe it's the number of transactions you're doing, right? Because they're going through the same highs and lows and everything else. And then the third thing is that piece that I believe allowed me to grow a lot faster, which was I can coach someone to get to where I'm currently at. And by being able to do that and slow down and articulate it and have that person understand it in a very simplified way, not just it didn't make me a better agent, but it also made me a better communicator to my own clients
Yep.
because I have to take the complexity of, buying real estate and selling real estate is not just put a for sale sign up and a contract, right? There's a lot of different moving parts and the inspections and the appraisals and the insurance. I mean, even me buying my Airbnb in Texas, the insurance is different than what it is here in Ohio, right? And there's a lot of different moving parts. So I want to encourage anyone, it doesn't matter where you're at in your career. You can coach someone to get to where you're currently at. I promise you, it's going to allow you to go a lot faster in your own career.
It's the get more by giving more
Yeah.
mentality. And Kelly Parker with Howard Hanna taught me that, who is also another mentor of mine who I really admire. And she's
So,
heavy in the Newark area.
so you really just got into the business over an opportunity, into the career. Like I know obviously you mentioned growing up, like you'd always, admire the different neighborhoods and the different houses and just kind of think about that. But was real estate ever really, a hot topic for you and a destination that you thought you were going to go towards?
No, I wasn't in my diapers, dressing up like a realtor, opening doors for people. I just that's not the reality. I am
Yeah.
driven by customer relations and customer service and experience.
Hmm.
And I do not feel any better in my life than after a satisfied client relays their message to me that they are satisfied. That is when I can check the box and know that I've built a relationship with a family that I am hopeful will be lasting. And then I keep it moving and I garner that relationship after the fact because honestly, most everyone that I've had the privilege of working for and with, I do build relationship with personally. And
Hmm.
it's not just about keeping that relationship for all of the referrals they're going to give me or because that's just what I have to do. No, it's because I really have been lucky enough to work with people that I actually really like. And and that's what makes it fun too. I do not feel like I'm working.
Yeah.
And growing up, we all have heard that term. You never have to work a day in your life if you love what you do. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And now I know what that means.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want it to go away, you
Yeah.
know? And so, and I actually, a side note, but it's important to my statement. I just purchased my first home, which
Yeah.
I've been in the industry for 6.5 years. And I just purchased my first home 4 months ago.
That's awesome.
So if you think that you're not going to have some level of imposter syndrome when you start in real estate, you can think again because you're going to. Period. And if you can imagine me I've been licensed for 3.5 years now. I was licensed in December of 19, so right before COVID.
Yeah.
Um, for me, what was my point? I forgot my point.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. So for me, I just purchased my first home. I never had purchased real estate before, and I'm
Yeah.
helping other people do it and sell their current and all that. I mean, that was a little difficult for me, but I learned how to separate the two. Separate. Okay, well, I've never done that before, but that doesn't mean I'm not qualified to know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I just purchased my first home, like I said, and it's actually 200 years old. So I am definitely number one leaning into that era, which is exciting because it's what I love.
Yeah.
Um, but number two, I'm continuing the renovation because luckily for me, the sellers had done quite a bit of restoring of the house. And so now I get to have fun with all the aesthetic stuff. So
Yeah.
I've definitely split my focus the last couple of months, which is a great lesson for me in work-life balance because I honestly, even though I have been working just as much on my house as I have been my business, it does feel like work. But it's fun, so it doesn't feel like work, like I said before. But it
Yeah.
definitely, I don't feel like I'm just eating bonbons and not doing anything. But it's taken my attention away from my business slightly, and I'm feeling that a little bit
Yeah.
right now. The market's a little, I mean, we could talk for hours about the market and whatever, but let's face it, we can't control the market.
Right.
There's nothing I can do to be like, okay, well, let me go march over there and have them, knock the rates down. Like, no, I can't do that. So all I can do is be aware and have the conversations, right? But I have experienced a little bit of a lull, if you will, which that again is the industry
Mhm.
too, when you in your career in real estate, up and down and all around. And it's interesting too, because some of my colleagues I'll look over and they'll be killing it. And then I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm working with some clients, but I'm not like, yes. And then 2 months later, they're like stagnant, and here I
Yeah.
am on fire. So there's really, it's hard to really gauge. Honestly, I think it's how much you put in,
Yeah.
regardless of how the market is, what time of year it is, where you are. It all comes down to you at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
That's
So
one of the
mhm, go ahead.
That's a great point, and that's one of the things I always tell every agent that I sit down with that is new to the industry. If you believe that you have the work ethic and you truly believe that to your core, that you are willing to put in the work and the hours, you will be fine. If you are aware that you are have lazy tendencies or like to put things off, not saying you can't be successful, but that success will be higher, peaks and valleys, right? Um,
I feel
but
like you learn to push through those negative traits or those stifling traits because you realize quickly, like, this is just not going to work.
yeah.
Like for me, there were days where I would go into the office and I wouldn't do a whole lot of work. But even being in the office
Mhm.
kept me in my focus aligned with the goal. And being around other agents or going to the coffee shop and having my laptop up with my business cards out. I might be, you know, going back and forth on social media, following up with some clients, looking my emails, doing some research on something else, but the intention is there.
Yeah.
You have to have intention. You have to be intentional. And really, because we are our own brand, it's important to be intentional as much as you can be in the workplace, outside of the workplace, wherever you are in your life. Right now, I have intention with having this conversation with you, which I'm so privileged and grateful to be able to do so. Right.
I
And
hey,
like,
I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your journey.
yeah. So, and you have the same intention,
Yeah.
right? I write affirmations every day. That's
Mm,
something I learned from a couple of my mentors and people who are close to who I'm close with in my life. And I may not get to them every day, but whenever I think I have to, whenever whenever I'm feeling like, okay, what am I doing? I'll just grab my notepad and start writing my affirmations. And that can read anything. My
yeah.
business multiplies in 2024, and I am a magnet to success. Write it down to fill the whole page. Don't stop until you fill the whole page. And that I feel like has really helped me too. It's weird. It's different. There's really no science behind it other than there is science behind it, I think, psychologically. But I will say, and a vision board too. The vision board I created last year, a lot of it has come true. And it's exciting to see, but that's putting out the intention. So you gotta be intentional, period. And if you experience one hit, two hits, five hits of rejection, you cannot let that get to you. You can let it get to you just enough to keep you going, but you can't let it get to you enough to where you are paralyzed.
Yeah.
And because then you're out of the industry in 6 months,
Yeah.
in 6 weeks, and I don't know. I mean, it all comes down to you. So I really don't, none of us really know what the answer is, what the secret is. The secret is you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the secret.
Anthony, let me ask you this kind of in regards to that. When you decided to use your license in the way of going out on your own, right? And doing your thing, supporters or doubters? I mean, did you have
Oh
either
my.
one? Which side did you lean on? Because some people love, like, they need the support, right, to keep going, and some people feed off of the doubters to prove them wrong.
Oh, you better believe I leaned on both for sure. And thank God for some of those haters because they've really helped me keep going. They really
Yeah.
have. They've given me the drive because they're in some names that I will not obviously bring up in this interview. You would probably be surprised at hearing. And that's just a testament on personality types, I think, and how some people can jive and other people don't jive so much. But definitely other professionals in the industry have given me a run for my money. But then on the flip side, there have been absolutely incredible professionals who I've run into, and I need both of those.
Hmm.
I need both of those, and that's what I've discovered. At first, when you're doing it, you're like, for me, when I jumped into it, I'm like, I'm just gonna do it, tunnel vision, and like knock all of the obstacles out of my way as much as I can, or jump over them, or become it for a minute, you know. Um, but the beauty behind the support of the individual who truly genuinely wants to see you grow, and the drive that you get from somebody who wants to see you fail, that's like a perfect marriage, at least for my personality type, because I'm like, to those leaders, watch me, don't cross me, watch me. And then, oh my God, like, about all the supportive individuals in my life. And I really feel that way. Like, there are some competitors of mine who I really look up to, who I just am so genuinely grateful for at the
Hmm.
end of the day. And so you find your community as you go, but you have to be intentional.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think
hope I'm
it's
not all over the place. Like, I
no,
do.
no, I think, that leads me to something I've been saying a lot over the last 6 to 8 months is I believe in this type of market that we're going into where, it's different. It's real estate's still going to happen, but I think environment matters, right? A little bit more now than before, even in the sense, not even always physically, but who's around you, right? Who are you leaning on? Are those people talking negative about business and real estate and the market and their life and everything else going on? Or are they more upbeat and optimistic, right? Obviously, it's different now, right? It's a little bit more challenging now.
So
It's a little bit
drama. So
harder
dramatic.
now.
Everybody's so dramatic. It's
But
like,
but who are the people, the environment, that you're surrounding yourself in physically and emotionally and I even talk about friends, right? Like, who are your friends? Are they negative people or are they positive people? And
right.
I just think it's so
Do they
important.
have a house to sell or not?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just,
Um,
I love my friends.
yeah. Um, Anthony, I want to talk about that first going out on your own. instant success for you because you've learned from some great people, or was there some struggles? How did that process work?
Oh, there's always struggles, right?
Yeah.
Because when you go solo 100%, you're solo 100%, and it's up to you to be intentional, to build your sphere and to build your support system and to show up every day. So for me, I needed a designated spot to show up to. So I stuck with the same broker as the team that I was on was affiliated with.
Mhm.
So that was a nice, easy transition. And I chose the office where the regional was out of, because at least I knew that I would be around somebody who has had longevity and has power in the industry. Because I come from working for two different agents who have strong presences and who have authority, and over 20 years, over 40 years collectively of experience. So it's important to surround yourself with successful people who know what they're talking about. So I knew that I was going to be faced with a little bit of a lull. It's going to take a minute, but I do think because I, like you said, had the experience of assisting unlicensed for a couple years and then selling, at least for half of a year or so with a top producing team, that gave me a lot of information and experience and example that I then could implement myself. And I didn't realize I was doing that at the time. So I'm so grateful to myself that I chose that route, because if I just tried to jump into it, and that's, I guess, something else that I will recommend new agents who, or individuals who are entertaining the idea, find somebody who you can learn from initially, work for free even if you have
Mhm.
to, or if you want to work for the cash, then you probably need to get an assistant position first. Otherwise, you could get licensed and find somebody who needs the extra support and offer an exchange. But I definitely, brokerage that you choose is important, and I know that you'll discuss that or touch that. Definitely important. More important are the people that you're around. So when you're choosing a brokerage, you should definitely consider who is affiliated with that brokerage, because a lot of brokers like to keep it in the family, right? I consider my family the people that I choose to be my family in the industry. And if they're in a different brokerage, then so be it.
Yeah.
But I've also been around long enough to be able to say that.
Right.
When you just get started, you want to have a strong support system and also a place to go, an
Yeah.
office, so
Yeah.
forth. I'm not sure if that answered the question, but hopefully
Yeah.
it.
No. No, I sometimes people come out of the gates and they're firing right, and they have that instant success, and they're tapping into maybe their other career and sphere of influence and all those things. And some people, they have those struggles. It's 5 months of no closings, and those things.
Well,
And
I went 6 months, and that
yeah,
was not initially like right when I switched. That was like in the middle. My focus had shifted a little bit. I'd been going through some things personally,
yeah,
and I went 6 months. And looking back, I'm like, 6 months, that's a long time. But what people who
yeah,
aren't in the industry do need to realize is that, we collect 3% or whatever we negotiate. Some people can get 4% off listings, but majoritively either 3%, or if they choose to reduce their commission, which I won't speak on. Um, at the end of the day, depending on the split that you have agreed upon with your broker, that's still a significant amount. We work for it, and
yeah,
I do 150% feel as though we earn. At least I confident
yeah,
to know that I earn my commission check.
yeah.
That's not my main focus, and I'm sure it's not yours either. I mean, truly, my main focus is to get my people where they want to go and to get
Right.
that good review at the end of the day, because I want their positive feedback, and I want to know that I was able to actually positively affect a family or an individual to help them grow. and then the paycheck comes after, and it's like, great.
Yeah.
So I was able to sustain a life for 6 months without having a closing, but it's definitely not inspiring. Definitely
But,
not fun.
that's the reality. That's also the reality of our business, like, you can I always tell people it doesn't matter how big of the business you are from an agent to agent standpoint, like, we all go through the same things, right? You have a
Yeah,
big team, there's gonna be moments or months where, right, the team just didn't perform that month, and you still got bills to pay and responsibilities and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, it's the same thing, but it's just a little bit different, maybe on scale, and that's why I love having agents like yourself come on and share. It's because none of us are out here inventing something new,
no,
right? We're not like cutting edge on the majority of things that we do, right? It's just different perspectives and different journeys, and the what I want to get across to people on this is it all works, right? If you work it, it all works. And taking one thing away from this conversation so far, with Anthony, you could take that one thing and implement it into your own business.
yeah. That's why this is so great that you're doing this.
Well, and
So,
honestly, I just got tired of hearing top listing agent, that top, buyer, top this, top that, top, like, define success. Success is defined by you and what you're trying to do, right? So,
right.
Anthony, I
I
want to kind of switch gears a little bit, and I want to look into the future of your business now, and kind of where you want to get to next. What's a goal that you're looking to accomplish in the next 12 months? I know you got the renovation and those projects, but anything within the business?
with where I am right now, what I will say is I look forward to continued growth with my production. And however that's measured, we shall see. I definitely am kind of a follow the signs of the universe type of person, be open to them, and then implement the knowledge and research and information you're able to access after you've accepted that sign from the universe. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Continuing to build and improve my brand, my branding with marketing, social media, and all that. I really do love being able to say that I create all of it.
Hmm,
And of course, I collaborated with a web designer to create my logo, but it was
sure.
my idea. It was, I chose that to be with that and had them make the edits and all that. Same with the website, same with the video. So, but like my social media posts, I actually do make myself. So having that ability is exciting for me. I need it. I guess for somebody looking to get into the industry as well, you will find things that you resonate with that help your business to help keep you going and to keep you proud. You have to have a lot of confidence in this industry. And I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in my 20s, which is why I say, like, really the last year and a half, 2 years, I gained quite a bit of just security with myself. So I look forward to implementing that more and seeing how it affects my business positively, because I do think that people will enjoy you more when you enjoy you more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that that's what I'm looking forward to. As far as the number goes, we'll see where it lands.
What's any 5-year goals that you have laid out yet?
Well, so as you mentioned at the beginning, I am Anthony Pope with Anthony Pope Real Estate Group and Key Realty. So I chose early on to market as a group. And although I don't have a team currently, like the team that I was on when I first started after getting licensed, that's something that I'm interested in entertaining down the line, as long as it pairs with my personal and professional needs.
Sure.
But as of now, I consider my group, my Anthony Pope Real Estate Group, aside from my multiple personalities. I consider my preferred vendors. So my preferred lender, my preferred title company, my home inspector, home warranty company, and other contractors. Those make up my group.
Yeah.
And that's how I like it. However, I'm hopeful that as I continue to grow and produce, that I will need the additional support. So in 5 years, I like to hope that in the instance that it makes sense for me personally and professionally, that I'll have formulated a team and have a couple agents working alongside my name and my team.
I love it. Any legacy goals for you? Any goals that you want to hit when you're no longer here?
I think the biggest message that I would like to leave on this earth is just because you're different doesn't mean that you're bad, or that you're not you don't you don't what's the word? Just because you are different doesn't mean that you're not capable of greatness. And more people, I think, really need to learn to lean into who they really are and to embrace it. And I'm still learning to do that, but I've started and I've realized how much more confident I feel. And we only have one life to live. So at the end of the day, all of this professional nonsense is just that. At the end of the day, it's
Mhm.
exciting and great. And I love my business and I love our industry and I love what you're doing and all of that. But at the end of the day, we have to be happy with ourselves.
Yeah.
And you're born alone and you die alone. Sometimes surrounded by really beautiful people. But if you can reach the finish line and feel at least satisfied with who you are, then that's great. And that's the message that I would like to pass on to, if I have kids. I don't have kids currently, and I'm not sure if I will. My nieces and nephews, my partner, that would be the legacy, because
Yeah.
I have definitely leaned into the weird. So
I love
at
it.
least my definition of it, which is
Yeah.
exciting. But
No, I
what
love
about
it.
you? I am curious to hear what your, I'm sure other people have asked you this, but
Yeah, my biggest thing is I believe our failure rate does not have to be what it is for our industry. I was fortunate and lucky enough to have someone that poured into me from day one of my real estate career, provided me everything that I needed as far as the education, the training, the systems, the leads, the admin support. I didn't have that typical journey of a real estate agent coming in and not having those things. And I know that I was lucky. I know I was fortunate, and I do say it was luck because how we connected was me randomly searching people online, and one person decided to reach out to me, and they connected me with my mentor and team lead, and I'm still with them from this day. I've never been anywhere else. Um, so for me, it's just showing agents that you all can be successful, but you have to get out of your own way sometimes, right? And a lot of times it's the ego that gets in the way of agents being successful, and it's focusing on things that are not in alignment to who they are and their personality, and I just want to continue to bring people on and share what's working, what has been working for us. And like I said, nothing is cutting edge of what I'm doing. um, and it's just keep having those conversations and making a little dent into that 87%, you know. And ultimately, a lot of agents say, oh, we need to raise the standards of our industry, but yet they don't share exactly what they're doing, right? Or they don't contribute in any way to that statement of trying to do it. And I want to be the one trying to do it.
well,
So,
you were the one trying to do it. So here you
so
are.
here we are. All right. Follow me on the journey, because it's not, this isn't something that's a year, 2 year, a 3 year thing, right? It's going to be a lifelong, career long journey. And who knows? We'll see if we get there, but we're going to try.
Well, that's all you can do, right? And
Yep.
I'm impressed, and you have my support. So I appreciate, again, the opportunity to do this, because to me there's quite a bit of value, and also I am pleased to be able to share my perspective in hopes to also help somebody
Yeah. Yeah,
who's
for sure.
considering. And also, I will say, if anybody ever wants to reach out, if they're considering getting into real estate, I'm not saying this to poach for my brokerage, although I do love my brokerage, and am very supportive of it. I just am also willing to provide
Yeah.
some perspective for somebody who may be interested in, maybe feels like my personality would resonate with them. But um, I would like to, as you mentioned earlier, become somebody who can be supportive, somebody who is following in my footsteps, as I am following in many,
Yeah.
many footsteps
Yeah.
myself. So it's
Yeah.
exciting. I love our industry because honestly, we are able to have our own brands and be our own brands and implement that idea and create and bring it to life. And that's exciting. And of course, the families we work with, the people that we connect, who we connect with, both clients and other professionals, like it really doesn't get a whole lot better, but you have to find your place. And
Yeah.
so there is going to be a period of time that you feel like a number, you don't feel like, but that's when you need to look inside and find the courage and the strength to lean into who you are and just let it flow. I mean, my first headshot, the tie up to here, the tie was the color of the broker's color, like I took it very seriously, but now I'm like, okay, this is nice, but this is me.
Yeah.
I can wear jeans to a showing appointment. And it's fine because I dress it up with loafers and a tucked in shirt. I'm still putting in effort. It's just maybe not the stuffy full suit look that another agent might have success doing because that's either what they enjoy or what they know. So that's, I guess, another example of how you can still be successful by making it your own and being who you are. So
Yeah.
um yeah, anyway, again, rambling.
No, no, I love it. You said that twice because normally I end the podcast with one piece of advice that you would, give to the audience. And you've mentioned that twice now
Well, there you go.
of, being true to who you are and doing it your way and
And it
owning it.
sounds so cheesy. It really sounds cheesy, but you know, it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Well, you know what I found over the years, and I was, button down shirt, dress pants, dress shoes, right? And that was like me. I never really got to the suit thing. But that was me early in my career because I thought that's what people wanted. And then I remember they weren't one of the first clients, but early in my career, maybe year two or something, super cool people. They've invited me over to barbecues. Their whole family has used me. And they're just like, John, we don't care if you would wear sweats to the show, and you don't have to dress up for
Right.
us. Now I've never gone to that level
Right.
personally, but now it's like what I found over the years is you're going to attract people that are typically similar to you, um, and how you typically operate, personality wise, communication wise, all of those things, as long as you're true to yourself. And I see it from time to time again. I would joke all the time. My team lead would always tell me, "Hey, you need to go, get a Mercedes, get a nice car, or whatever."
Oh my
And that
goodness.
was his thing, right? That was his thing.
Yeah.
I would always joke that, like, hey, my car is my car, and if someone doesn't want to work with me because of that, then they're not my people, anyways.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, right? And I think a lot of people think that they have to go drive this nice fancy car, and they have to dress nice, and they have to do this, and they have to be there, and just
Well,
be who
especially
you
when
are.
you're seeing the top producers who do, like you said, lean more into that because they
Yeah.
have the resources to be able to do that,
Right. Right.
and good for them for being inspiring and all that. But you definitely don't have to drive a Mercedes to
Yeah.
attract business,
Right.
And let's face it, I mean, the more popular price points that are of a larger pool of individuals, residents, clients, that's the money making because
Yep.
that's accessible, you know.
Yep.
Sure, when I first started, I'm like, I want to sell $1 million homes, and it's like I still want to sell $1 million homes. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, yeah,
unless you're owning a community that consists of $1 million homes, that's probably not going to happen a whole lot.
right.
And if it does, those transactions throughout historically have taken longer. So the the people who are living in the households that are a bit more accessible, they don't drive Mercedes, you know.
Yeah,
So just like what you were saying, I mean, they wear sweats, right? I sometimes wear sweats, but our clients, they like to be comfortable, depending on their personality, but they do like to be comfortable, right? Or they drive what they like but can afford,
yeah,
within their budgeting. So they appreciate feeling like, I think that it's old school in a not so great way to look at realtors as the button up suit driving the nice car. To me, it's douchey, number one. But also, I do think that it automatically creates a divide between the consumer and the service provider. And to me, you're not doing your job correctly if that's the case. So I think in this era, especially after COVID and everything, not to like harp on the way people are dressing or whatever, it's just the easiest example. But that is the mindset and approach I feel and expectation of the consumer now.
yeah,
People don't require those things nearly as much as they used to
yeah,
because we're in a different era.
yeah. I love it. Anthony, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to come on here and share your journey and just share your perspective of the industry and your business. Those that are watching, Anthony's phone number is down below. So if you're thinking about buying, selling, investing in Central Ohio, make sure you reach out to him. If you guys are a real estate agent and you're watching this and you've just connected with his journey and his passion, and if you want to just pick his brain, or add him to the list of people to reach out to, make sure you guys hit
Or
him
to
up.
avoid.
But Anthony, for those that are listening in, what is the best way? What is the phone number for you to have someone to connect?
Yeah. 614-804-2943 has been my number since I was probably 12. And that is where you can definitely reach me. Save my number. But also, we all live on social media. So Instagram is Anthony Pope Real Estate Group. You can find my professional business page on Facebook under Anthony Pope Real Estate Group, or my personal page, which kind of act in tandem, is Anthony Bonham Pope. Also, I'm posting quite a bit about my house right now. So if you are interested in historic homes, older homes, or renovation in general, I have great contractors I can let you know about, but also you'll get to see some, I think, nice photos. So if that interests you, you can follow me. And then I'm on LinkedIn as well, professionally, if you want to chat. But yeah, so Jon, so appreciate the opportunity. You're doing great things. I know you've had a presence in the industry for a minute already, so just keep on doing what you're doing. And I look up to you, and I appreciate and respect everything that you are doing, and hope to see you out on the fields.
Yes, thanks so much. Thanks so much. And if I can ever repay you for your time today and being on my podcast and my show,
I
just let me
do. It's lunchtime, isn't it? No, for sure.
Anthony, thanks so much, and
Yeah.
we'll connect again here soon.
All right. Thank you as well, and happy selling.
All right, see ya.
Okay.